Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back. It's the Resistance broadcast. We are going to talk about a lot of stuff in the galaxy far, far away. This week, we are doing a Kessel Run, which many of you may remember. What we do here is a list of 12 things about a specific topic. This week, what would you show somebody who had never heard or seen Star Wars? So we're going to give you our list of 12 and then hear from you guys. My name is John Hoey. Thank you again so much for joining us on this wonderful Thursday or whenever you happen to be listening to us. Make sure you're now subscribed to us in addition to iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube. We are on Spotify. We announced that to you on Twitter and also on Monday. So get with us on there and get with us and the whole crew right here, right now with James Bainey and Lacey Gillerin. Guys, what is going on? Happy Thursday. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good because off camera, and I just want to mention this, I don't want it to turn into a big thing, but I asked Lacey, I said, if Kylo Ren dies in episode 9, would you still think it's a good movie? And she said, I think it'll be a good movie. There's a lot in between that happened, but I'm just going to say that. She thinks it would be a good movie if Kylo Ren died.
So that is the epitome of editing
so
out of
much
context.
Out of it.
Yeah. I said that no matter what, it's not my story to tell. It's Lucasfilm's and the writer's story to tell. So they'll do what's best for the character. But I never said I would be happy with him dying. But I did notice over the weekend, someone had pointed out to me that he could be Kylo Gillerin with a capital R. I know.
Oh.
Meant to be. But I'm ready to talk some Star Wars.
It's not Kathleen Kennedy's story. It's not Lucasfilm's story. It's not Bob Iger's story. It is J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio's story, right? So when people see this movie, Lacey, and they don't like it, they can't be like, Kathleen Kennedy made Kylo Ren live or made him happy. Like, she didn't. She has nothing to do with it. She's a producer. And people need to remember that for the next 3 years. So how you guys feeling good? Ready to talk some Star Wars? Ready to dive in? I feel like that was what's going on?
Probably one of our best intros to understand your personality, my personality, and Lacey's personality all in one before the episode starts.
Yeah? All right. So let's go back to Celebration and submit just this intro and be like, if you really want to get a vibe of what we're all about, just push that right over at them.
Lacey's vibe is Kylo Ren.
That's the whole vibe, yeah. All right. So we are back with the Will of the Force this week, Mr. Bainey. So what are we willing this week?
I fear nothing, for all this, as the Force wills it.
Thanks, Chirrut, for that intro. On this week's Will of the Force, we got a couple questions, and these ones are going to be pretty difficult, I think, for me. Nope. I think these are going to be pretty simple. All right, first one coming up. Will you buy the entire saga in a 4K set, episodes 1 through 9, because you know this is happening? I also want to, just before we jump into this, I want to say a while ago, I said that Solo was in 4K on the digital release. It actually is not, but
Told you.
I know that iTunes is, she was absolutely right. I know that iTunes is in the process of upgrading a lot of movies, and they're making a move. And I just thought if new movies were coming out, of course they would be in 4K, but they're not all.
They're not.
I think they will eventually, though, because like I said, they're upgrading movies. But anyway, would I rebuy the entire saga in 4K? Absolutely not. No way. Ever. I own the movies and I watch them that way. They're on digital. I don't own them on DVD or Blu-ray or anything like that.
James,
so I would never go back and rebuy them.
How low of a price would it have to be for you to be like, yeah, all right, I'll do it? As you're sitting in Target, weighing your options like you were with Solo.
Well, the first thing is I don't own a 4K TV. So if it was $1, I don't know. I guess if it was $1, I would think like I might eventually own a 4K TV.
$1, okay. Yeah. So you're not buying it, okay?
I'm definitely not rebuying a set. Lacey, are you going to be rebuying all the movies that you already own with a few more pixels?
Absolutely. I buy all my movies in 4K. I have a 4K TV. I've been searching for The Force Awakens in 4K for how many years now? 3 years. Still hasn't come out. Someone there was a rumor online that the Force Awakens 3D version had a 4K version. That is a lie. That is a blatant lie. It does not. So yes, absolutely yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, John, will you?
Kylo looks great in 4K, by the way, especially the scene where he's shirtless.
Would you rather have
it's
4K
like he's standing
or 3D?
in front of you. It's like
3D
he's standing
is like he's
in front
standing
of
in
you.
front of you.
It's like it's 3D, just like Lacey's bits are 2D.
Yeah.
It's the same friggin' bits every week.
Chewie looks good in 4K too.
Well, that mohair really pops on screen. Will I buy? Yeah, I will. You know why? Because I only own the original trilogy on DVD right now. I don't even have it on Blu-ray, so I gotta upgrade that, especially if they're gonna add pixels, if that's all it really is. I'm sure the sound would be better too. So, and it'll probably be a cool like case. Like I don't know, it'll probably be something really cool. Like maybe it'll be a Millennium Falcon, and you open it up, and all the 9 discs are inside the Falcon. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But yeah, my answer is I will.
All right. Second question up this week on Will of the Force is, will Boba Fett return in The Mandalorian? John, I'm going to start with you on this.
I know James's answer.
Yeah, you guys already know if you listened last week. Or last Monday, I should say.
I'm going to say he won't, only because I don't like Boba Fett. I think I think in my headcanon he's dead. But I think he could, but I'm going to lean towards he won't. So I guess I agree with James on this one. Even though you haven't given your answer yet.
Yeah, I think just my general answer is that I just assume that no characters are going to show up in The Mandalorian. Nobody is like a secret
back
identity.
To Monday, James went into,
So I'm going to go with no, and then if he does show up, I'm going to be like, cool, this whole time it was Boba Fett, or whatever, you know. Lacey, what do you think?
So this movie takes place between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Yes, it's a television show.
So that would say that Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc pit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nah dog for me. Like, no way. Nope. Mm-mm. He's dead. He flew into that thing so fast. He's dead.
To be fair, I don't think that he's going to show up in The Mandalorian, nor do I think that Cobb Vanth is involved. But in the Cobb Vanth story, they do kind of allude to the fact that everything is that Boba Fett is still alive. They kind of take you from step to step to step. Oh, there's a huge hole in the side of the dead Sarlacc. Oh, there's Mandalorian armor on Tatooine and like all this other stuff. So they kind of allude to the fact that he made it out. And
also just that there's such a gap there of 30 years that from profiting and storytelling possibilities, if Boba Fett could have survived, it makes sense for them not to have him die in the Sarlacc.
Yeah.
Although in my head, that's where he is.
I just like to think that homeboy just died. He's dead.
Yeah. All right, next question. Will the post-Return of the Jedi novel, The Alphabet Squadron, incorporate Han, Luke, and Leia? So we know that this is happening just shortly after the fall of the Empire. It's going to be about, New Republic or Rebellion, however you want to look at it. Fighters chasing down the Imperials. But is there any chance that Han, Luke, or Leia are going to be involved in this story at all? Lacey, what do you think?
Woohoo.
Yes, I think Leia will be mentioned in it. She has to be. She's like leading that thing. I think Luke and Han could be in it in passing, if not like side mention. But I think you'll see Leia in it in some way.
I think I'm actually with Lacey on that. I think that if anybody's going to get mentioned, I would say that it's most likely either Leia or Luke, because I think Luke could be like this mysterious poster boy of the rebellion, and he has some crazy stories, like how he maybe brought down a Star Destroyer with this lightsaber or whatever from the Legends of Luke Skywalker. I think he's really on people's mind in that era. And then I think they're just smart to incorporate those characters in any degree when it's written into like a novel or something, because it's really easy to write for those characters. Obviously, if it was a TV show, I'd say probably not, like a live action show. I'd be like, I don't know how they're going to do that. But if it's a book, you can write their stories all day. So, John, what do you think?
Well, I have an inside scoop on this book, guys. So I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen right now.
Here we go.
There is going to be a prologue for this book, the Alphabet Squadron, and the entire prologue is going to be
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
It's going to be the alphabet.
Yeah,
the entire alphabet. Yeah. It's going to be a moment by moment telling of the night that Ben Solo was conceived by Han Solo and Leia.
Gosh.
Ew.
So that's what. Yeah, that's it. No, that's not. Oh, I must have read that somewhere on Reddit. I don't know. No, I just made that up.
Ew.
Do I think? Oh, stop it.
Han Solo was wearing a cowboy
Lacey.
hat. Like, what is this?
Yeah. He was like, yeah. No, do I think? I always feel like Leia gets really involved in these stories, like some way or another. So I think she'll still be a leader in the transition to the New Republic. So she'll probably be featured or mentioned. The other two, I don't know. I don't think they're going to touch on Luke because Luke's too big of a character he would maybe overshadow this. And they want to focus on these 5 pilots, and I don't think he's doing the pilot thing anymore. And Han, I don't think is going to be involved at all. So maybe a little bit of Leia, like Lacey pretty much said.
All right, let's move on to the next one. This one is about Dave Filoni and possibly a little tied into that Mandalorian news. Will Dave Filoni direct a Star Wars film? So do we ever think that's going to happen? John, I'm going to shoot right back at you. Dave Filoni directing a Star Wars film 2025? What do you think? I don't know.
I don't know when, but he will. I didn't think he was going to, and now that they open the door saying he's going to be directing live action, I think it's a no-brainer that at some point, if they keep making live action movies, he's going to get one of them, especially if they feel like he does a good job with this test run as a live action series director.
I'm going to go with, I'm going to say, I know like the overall consensus of fans and how much we love Dave Filoni and appreciate his work and everything is to lead in that direction, but I'm still going to say no, because I don't know that he's ever really expressed interest in doing that. I think we just always ask him, is that your next step? Is that your ultimate goal? And I think he could very well be very happy exactly where he is, being who he is in Lucasfilm. So
didn't he say something like, if the opportunity presented itself or something like that when he visited like the set of The Last Jedi and was interviewed about it?
Not that I can remember, and I'm sure somebody's saying like, I remember this interview verbatim, but I've always kind of gotten the impression that we're kind of putting that on him, like, Dave, you've done so well in television. When are you going to direct a movie? And he's always just kind of like that. I don't even know if that's like his personal goals. I think he's really achieved a lot. Is it really that bad to be like the best Star Wars television storyteller? I think that's a pretty prestigious role. So he might just be happy with that. If he goes into the film game, he might be like, well, he's no JJ, he's no George, and that then he kind of gets tainted a little bit. Lacey, what are your thoughts though?
I think he will, and I think he's going to do Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Wow. Interesting.
I think that's his first thing, like you said, is like getting into it is going to be the TV show. Mm-hmm. And then I think with Obi-Wan, based on how Solo went, they're going to want to do someone that they trust, and they thoroughly trust him. Fans trust him, so they won't give it a hard time because it'll be someone that they care about. I think he's going to do Obi-Wan, and I think they're going to announce it at Celebration.
Ooh. You guys are really hooked on that Obi-Wan Kenobi movie happening.
James,
sooner
better
than
jump
later.
on this hype train because it's.
Oh, I'm not on the hype train,
forward.
and I'm going to be so open to being wrong, but I'm just saying right now that they're not making that movie.
Yeah, I agree with Lacey. I think they are going to announce it at Celebration. I don't think Filoni will do it.
What if I've been right about everything? What are you both going to do if I'm right about everything I've ever said?
That Chewie's going to die and Kylo
and
Ren's
that
going to live.
Dave Filoni's directing the Obi-Wan movie. And
what if
better
you're
write it
wrong
down
about
now.
everything? I love if you go back to old episodes from like last year, it's amazing how like way off we were on so many things. And
I hope I'm not off.
Fun.
That's the thing is
we'll
we're
see.
always hit and miss. Like sometimes we just absolutely nail stuff, and other times we're just like, I don't know. We're so divided between opinions. You can't really say that our podcast is always right or wrong either. Anyway.
So really quick, the past week, Adam Driver was supposed to speak at Cambridge University in the UK. And there was this thing running around of an email saying that he couldn't go because he had to reshoot something, and it was a big scene, so he needed time to like prepare for it, and that's why he couldn't go, and it was so last minute. Again, we don't know if that's true, but I swear to God, if that's his death scene, I'm gonna lose it. If we're gonna go lose it.
I don't think they would have changed the story. Like, I don't know.
No, they probably
I'm
just
getting a
pushed up
death
production
feel from
dates.
this movie now that we're in production.
No, but they can switch around production dates. Say that something like a set wasn't done yet, they might move his stuff up earlier or move things around that were already planned.
I thought the note said that it had to do with rewrites again. Like the same thing.
Oh, you're right. It was like something changed.
No, massive scheduling changes.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah.
But we don't even know if that note was real.
Yeah.
But also, do you guys know that game 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Yes.
Yes.
I want to do a version with that on every podcast episode where Lacey connects something to Kylo Ren. Because we're talking about Dave Filoni directing a Star Wars
about
movie.
It.
Okay.
He was talking about it just now.
Lacey's always going to be like, I can do that in one step.
One step. We should do, okay,
it's
go
Star
ahead.
Wars,
I'll do it right now.
And there you go. Yeah. Well, we should make that a mini segment one day. I'll prepare something.
So I have to do it in less than 6 steps?
Oh,
6 or less.
Me and James can guess. He could be like, I think she'll do it in 3 steps. And I'll say, I think she could do it in 2 steps. And we'll see who wins.
I'm up for it.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, you want to move on to the next one, though, now that we're done with
Dave Filoni's directing Obi-Wan.
We are still willing of the forcing.
We're still willing of the forcing. All right, so the next question is, will we learn how Maz got Luke's lightsaber in episode 9? And a follow-up to this is, will it be a big deal or an anticlimactic story? I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say, absolutely not. You're not going to get that story in episode 9. And the follow-up to it was, will it be a big deal or not? No, it's not a big deal. It's totally anticlimactic because the story doesn't even really matter. It was like an off-the-handle, off-the-cuff comment that is just a door to write another story sometime somewhere. But there's no hidden secret to this. It's not anything like, oh, it was given to me by Luke Skywalker himself. Like, no, it's no big deal.
So it's going to be in a Forces of Destiny episode. You're saying,
yes, absolutely. Like it's going to be something that maybe
or
is mentioned in
certain point of view type thing.
Yeah, or something. Absolutely. Yeah. That's, in my personal opinion, the answer to that question. John, will we learn more about Maz's saber in 9?
I have to say, you were very passionate about that. Like, you're very upset about this.
It's one of those things, man. I get worked up sometimes when fans like stick to theories, and I know that's where they're coming from. You know, like what if
and you
this
don't like
person...
closure?
Closure? I don't need closure on where she got the lightsaber. I
need it. You know why? Because Lando's gonna reveal that he gave it to her.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, because he found it on Bespin. They found it on Cloud City. He's like, oh, that was that kid's. Let me hand it over to Annie somehow, because Han knew Maz, and I'm sure Lando did too, and Last Shot, and they all liked hanging out together, and he's like, here, hang on to this for me. Even though the non-canon version totally had it just floating through space and landing on Jakku. Right. Okay. All right. Lacey, what do you think? Yeah, we will. Yeah.
I think we will learn about it, but like you said, it's going to be like a small side story. Like
in 9 though.
Oh, in 9?
Yeah.
Sorry,
will we learn how Maz
part.
got Luke Skywalker's in episode 9, and then will that story be a big deal or an anticlimactic story? Like, is it relevant to the story of episode 9, or is it just going to be like, oh yeah, I picked this up here. I told you I'd tell you that story later.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to find out about it in 9, and this is why. Because now it's Rey's lightsaber. It's not Luke's anymore. I mean, the box, when you buy it, has Rey on it, not Luke. StarWars.com has changed it over to Rey's lightsaber. So I think the story of how Maz got it and how it was Luke's doesn't necessarily matter at this point in the story. And if they do, it's not going to be a big deal. It's going to be like, yeah, I got this thing.
You know what sucks? It was Han who asked her where she got that, and she said it's a story for another time. Then Han dies like an hour later. He's never gonna find out. He's probably like touching Kylo's face as he's dying, like, I'm never gonna find out.
That's funny.
He didn't answer the question.
That's funny
And
that
also
you
it's like,
said that. I was thinking how funny it was that Anakin had it for a very long time, and then Luke had it for a while, and then Rey has it for like a week and breaks it.
That's the next Resistance transmission. What was Han thinking when he touched Kylo's face?
Yeah.
There you go.
I left
Han
the stove
used
on.
that lightsaber. Han saved Luke's life with that lightsaber, so he deserved to find out.
He's one of the 4 people to ignite a lightsaber in the original trilogy.
Biggity bam.
All right, last question. Since we're speaking of lightsabers, we might as well go ahead and ask this. Will episode 9 have more than one lightsaber duel? So, if we would have said this about episode 8, we'd have been like, there's going to be like 12 duels.
If it was a prequel, it's like 40 duels.
Yeah, exactly. They always got to top it, and the prequels had all sorts of duels. So, I don't know. Episode 9, will it have more than one lightsaber duel? I'm going to say no. I'm just going to assume there's going to be one lightsaber duel between Kylo Ren and Rey, and that's going to be the be all end all kind of thing.
Nope.
What?
Just joking. Go ahead.
Did you say Death Rey? Wake up, sheeple. She's gonna die.
Don't you dare.
Death Rey. No, but I think that kind of how you had Vader. I know Rey won sort of the first conflict, but I think how you had Luke lose the first fight, and then when they come back, it's like, he's getting a second chance at winning this, and then Luke kind of comes back and wins. I think you could kind of consider that first one draw-ish. I don't know, but I think then the conflict of having those two fight and all the story being on leading up to that fight, and which way is this going to go? Is Kylo going to win? Is Rey going to win? Are they going to kill each other? Are they going to stop fighting? Is it going to be another draw? All these different possibilities. I think that's really want the story to be focused. I don't know who else could be fighting with a lightsaber. That was a long answer to a will the Force question. Lacey, do you agree, disagree? More than one? Yes, no?
I think there's going to be more than one.
Okay.
A while ago when we gave our episode 9 predictions, I said that the movie was going to start off with Rey lighting up her saber staff, her new lightsaber, right from the get-go. I think that given the tempo and rules of script writing, you have to have multiple action scenes. I think it's like every 8 to 10 minutes or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It was like some time frame. So I could see the movie opening with, the rebellion somewhere, the resistance somewhere trying to like get some headway on fighting the First Order, and Rey and Kylo meet then. Or Rey meets the Knights of Ren, which I'm hoping they're in 9, and has to fight them, and then they run away, or then they get away. And then she meets up with Kylo later. Like, that would be 2 fights. So I think we will get multiple fights. I think it would be a waste if there was only one again.
I think in my pitch for episode 9 way back when, I had a lightsaber fight with Rey and a lone Knight of Ren at one point. So it's possible, I guess.
You guys think the Knights of Ren are lightsaber users?
No. I thought that the theory was that they
I guess that's true.
were Luke's students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've seen them, but none of them had lightsabers in their hand. Is that like a new rule that Kylo put on them under the new order of the Knights of Ren, or was it?
Well, you just never see them light them.
I know maybe they just didn't have them on. I don't know. It's interesting.
They all show up in episode 9 with purple lightsabers, and Samuel L. Jackson like boycotts the movie.
Yeah. And then Kylo Ren, it's raining. It's that scene from the thing, and Kylo Ren takes off his mask, and it is Samuel L. Jackson. It was like a weird flashback, and he has a big scar, and then he's like, later, I will call myself Snoke, and it's like another big thing. Like,
all right.
Okay, calm down. No, the Praetorian Guards had those weapons that were similar to lightsabers with the laser blades and stuff. So I mean, it could be her fighting someone like that. I just think Rey's going to use her lightsaber more than once, which would mean more than one duel in episode 9.
Okay.
John, what do you think?
Okay, yeah. So I think no. I think JJ was very minimalist with dialing back the use of lightsabers after George Lucas was just like, you use a lightsaber, and JJ like tried to make it special again, and I think he's gonna keep that tone going in episode 9. So I think we're gonna get one, like James said, one final battle at the end, and that'll be it.
I can't wait to elbow you in the theater when I'm right, and she lights up her saber, and I'm gonna be like, hey, there's one. And then she's going to light again. I'm like, there's 2.
That's the best part about Star Wars is whether you're right or wrong, it's still awesome. Like, I would love to have more than one lightsaber fight, and I would also like it to just be one main focus fight, you know? So cool.
Yeah. You're waiting the whole movie for those things to ignite, and then...
And then there's pyrotechnics, and it's crossfire.
You'll get caught up in the... Is it you'll get caught up in the, or don't get caught up in the?
I think it's don't get caught up in the...
Ooh, conflict among the podcasters.
No, it's definitely don't get caught up in the...
And he thought it was Yule. So we're going to have to check it out. Or don't check it out and just always never know. All right, guys, that's it for Will of the Force this week. We have a Kessel Run to go on. So I'm going to get my friend Han Solo to help us out. Or maybe just John.
He's settling for you.
John, do you think you could pilot the Falcon on the Kessel Run for us?
You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? It's a ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
I can do it in 14, like Ray thought it was.
All right, yeah.
Not if you round down, buddy. So yeah, this week we're going to do a Kessel Run. It's fun, good times. So we're going to put together our list of 12 items for this topic, and the topic is, if you could only show a few minutes or a clip or a story, whatever, of Star Wars to someone who has never heard of or seen it, what do you show them to simply say, this right here, this is Star Wars? So we're going to cheat here. Instead of giving 1, we asked you guys to give us 1 each. We're each giving 4 for our Kessel Run, 12 in tribute to Han Solo's 12 parsec Kessel Run. So we're going to get into it here. I guess in no particular order. We can fire away with our list of 12. So guys, when you thought about it, what would you show people as your this is Star Wars? So we'll start with James.
My thing is that if I was going to say, hey, here's the idea of Star Wars, I think I would kind of present it as a like prequel, sequel, or prequel, original trilogy, sequel thing, kind of like take them on the journey and be like, and there's so much more past this, but here's kind of like the main points. And when I think about the prequels, one of the things I think about is the scene in Phantom Menace where Anakin is standing in front of Yoda, and how do you feel? I feel cold, you know, and to be able to present that and say, this is Star Wars in a nutshell, that like this kid is standing in front of these people and they have these powers and they have these ability to kind of read his mind and read his feelings. And right now, even though he says he has this all under control and he doesn't, you know, do this, like they can see through that. And Yoda tells him the thing like about how fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, all that stuff. And his thoughts dwell in his mother and all that. Like that is like just the setup for like, just, you don't even understand the journey that this kid's about to go on. And to see that whole journey take place is such an amazing adventure. Like, I feel like that could interest someone enough to get them to watch the rest of the movies.
Very cool. Very cool. Lacey, what is your first entry into the Kessel Run?
So I went about it a little different than James. This first one's a personal one, but the rest of mine are more like what I picture as like the most fun scenes in Star Wars, and the ones that I think are the epitome of like what it's all about. So the first one I chose was a personal one. So this is what got me into Star Wars, which is the twin sons Luke Skywalker A New Hope scene, binary sunset. And I know everybody's like, oh, of course it is, but it's hard to explain, but little Lacey in second grade found so much connection with Luke Skywalker when he walks out and looks out to the sunrise or the sunset and is just dreaming of other things, of dreaming of going on adventures and becoming who he wants to become and not being stuck where he is. And that just struck a chord with me even in second grade of like, I'm dreaming of bigger and better things. And I always had this like imagination that eventually a ship would show up and take me away, you know, and go on these crazy adventures. And so that to me, I know someone from the outside might not get it, but to me, I think everybody can get along with this or can relate to the sense of belonging, of wanting to find where they belong and where they're meant to be. And I think with the music and the setting and the way Mark Hamill, like the way he looks down and then like looks back up, like, it's just so perfect. And that scene is hands down my favorite scene in Star Wars. And I know a lot of people agree with me, but
yeah,
it's just, it has a personal meaning to me.
I think you absolutely nailed it. And the music there too is like, it wasn't even supposed to be like important music. It's like Obi-Wan's theme. And then they just kind of threw it in there. And like the way that it worked so well that that song is now basically the new theme song for Star Wars. Like everybody has connected with that music in that moment. So that's a great one, Lacey.
And it like, his disappointment there when he's dreaming and he's daydreaming, then he comes back to reality and the music fades as he fades. It's just unreal. So yeah, you nailed it. Excellent pick.
Oh, thank you, John.
2 good picks. We got an episode 1 situation, we got an episode 4 situation, and now I'm going to the sequel trilogy for my first one. I tried to think for this one. You have one small window to show somebody Star Wars, and I feel like this scene encompasses so many elements of it that I love. So it is when Han says the Resistance, it's the Resistance, they're coming, and the music hits, and you see the X-Wings going over the water. You have Han and Chewie there. You have Poe Dameron flying around destroying all these X-Wings. Then on the ground, you have them battling on the ground, and it's all happening at once. It's just so many layers in the sky, on the ground, a lot of action, a lot of fun. The music is outstanding. I love the March of the Resistance, and I'm glad that our theme song sounds a little bit like it. But if I had to show someone this scene, I think I could get them into Star Wars by showing them it's the Resistance, and you see those X-Wings steaming right over the lake there. So
I remember the teaser when that shot came on the screen. People like lost it when you see the ships like their like wings go out.
Oh
and
my god!
Because it just felt so much like it was like, yes, that's the Star Wars we always thought was possible, and now we're gonna get it. Yeah. On the water, like that's something like you think of X-Wings as like flying around in space, but it's like them finding like a ground land battle. Like that was just so unreal to us. Yeah. When that came out.
And you see Finn looking at Poe just annihilating these
that's one
TIE
hell
fighters.
of a pilot.
Yeah. While they're on the ground shooting and Han has the bowcaster. It's just like that scene is so freaking awesome.
I think it's nine kills. I think.
Is it?
I think
he gets 9.
Yeah, it might be 12, but I think it's 9 kills that he gets, like in a string.
He also hits the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Like what?
And then Han Solo kills 9s. So a lot of 9 happening in that scene. All right, so we are on our way here. We had 3 down, 9 to go. James, what would be your second entry into our list here on the Kessel Run?
So I think something kind of similar to what you were saying is I think somehow or another it would be really great to incorporate the Death Star and, more importantly, a large scale battle. And I kept thinking of which ones would you want to show them, and I think there's something about the Battle of Scarif, and I don't know how much time I would really have to show them because I only have a few minutes, so I was kind of like, how do I show them like the fight scene, or do I show them like just the destruction of like, this is what the Death Star is capable of, and this is why it's so important that they stop this from happening. Here's a little bit of like personal relation that you could have to these characters. You got to know them in this movie, and this is like them being destroyed by this weapon, and you'd understand how important it is that they stop this thing. I think the Battle of Scarif is huge in that regard. It was another battle that we were like, this is kind of the story of Star Wars that we always wanted to see, and Rogue One kind of made that happen as well. So I think it could draw people in from like the visual standpoint, from the air and space battles, happening simultaneously. And then on top of that, you have personal connection. You could understand why you would feel for Jyn and Cassian as they're being destroyed. And then if you even have the time to show it, you want to stretch your time a little bit, that scene with Vader at the end, you're like, you remember that guy I showed you in that scene before? This is him now.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's a good, I didn't even think about that Vader scene. That's a good pick.
So so that's my second choice. That's where I would be on my journey of showing someone 4 separate scenes.
All right. We're up in the ante here. Now, this isn't a competition, but it feels like it.
Well, since none of us picked that Vader scene, that's not included because none of us picked that scene.
Okay.
He picked Destruction of Scarif. Vader's not in Destruction of Scarif.
Yeah.
All right. I totally missed the ball on that too. Grr.
All right. So, Lacey, what's your second one?
So my second scene is from The Last Jedi. It is a prime example of someone that you think is the bad guy comes back to be the good guy. And everyone in the audience cheered, no matter how many times I saw it in the movie theater, which I believe at this rate, where I am now, I think I saw it 7 times. All 7 times, people cheered. And that was when Rey and Kylo teamed up in the throne room to fight the guards. Specifically when she thinks she's about to die and he flicks his fingers and she catches the lightsaber, everybody cheered and clapped.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's a prime example of like, no matter what side you're on, it goes back to that Luke Skywalker scene, like finding that sense of belonging and working towards one goal and like working together. Plus, it's like a really cool lightsaber scene. I don't think we've ever seen a scene like that in Star Wars where it's so choreographed and like the actors actually did this scene.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so well timed, like the behind the scenes stuff where you see like, the flaming stuff swinging by Adam Driver and he ducks at the perfect time. Like the time and effort that went into that scene is just the perfect, like, this is what Star Wars is. It's about fighting the bad guys, really cool lightsabers. It's just awesome. I love that scene.
I remember when people were coming out of the movie saying it sucks because there were no lightsaber duels. And I was like, there's one of the best lightsaber scenes ever put to film in that movie. But you're upset because the 2 lightsabers never touched. But like I would have died if like say Darth Maul was not a character and just like in Phantom Menace, like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan just went on like a rampage like that. Just like doing the same type of choreographed stuff, but like the way like it all worked together and they're like back to back fighting off these people. I mean, it's just so amazing. That's another good pick.
It's such a good point too that you made, James, is that they never actually touched the lightsabers, but like talk about doing it completely different. Like we've seen lightsaber duels all these different ways, and then we've never seen a fight where we actually never see them touch. But yet they are working towards the same thing. It's just so cool. That fight is so cool where she like balances on his back and like grabs his thigh and whatever. But it's awesome.
Boy.
Yeah. It's great.
It's funny, on Monday I was talking about how I don't pay attention to direction, but I guess I do at some points, because when I think about a scene like this, I was so satisfied that I was able to know exactly what was going on. And it wasn't like a Michael Bay Transformers movie where it's just like everything's clanging around and quick shots.
The camera's like not spinning,
I knew what was going on and who was doing what, and it could have been such a mess with all those guards and the 2 of them. And Rian Johnson slowed it down while keeping it high octane. And
that's one of the best parts where it's slow motion and they turn around and then it speeds up. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
And then when he catches it and puts it through the guy's eye, I mean, that's pretty badass. Good. Yeah, good. Good.
Remember when everybody was putting different songs over that, like Guardians of the Galaxy opening? It's stuff.
James, you should have put one of your old songs on it.
Yeah, could have. That would be pretty cool.
Could have done that. All right, so my next one is Yoda's speech to Luke about the Force and Empire. For my allies, the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Between you, me, the tree, the rock, its energy surrounds us and binds us. The music and just seeing that puppet come to life, even to this day, almost 40 years later, and that's a living creature there. Frank Oz does a great job. Mark Hamill does a great job interacting with him. Williams does a great job with the themes there and the music, and it simplifies the Force into just this natural, beautiful thing that I felt kind of got muddled over the years with the science of midichlorians and the prequels, and that is a quintessential Star Wars moment to me. That I feel like it could be its own trailer for that movie and the saga itself. And it's no surprise that JJ brought that line back for The Force Awakens, and people go back to it. That's my article sign off is for my allies the Force and a powerful ally it is. I just think again you have a tight window to show people Star Wars. You show them that, and it makes them want to know more. I think so. That's my pick there.
I still can't believe that thing is a puppet. I was sitting here thinking, can I name any other movie outside of Star Wars? Because I think like Force Awakens and stuff, they obviously do a really good job with some of the puppetry and all that. But I can't think of like any other movie that there clearly is a character that's supposed to be like a puppet or even a Muppet, and you're so drawn into it that you're like,
Labyrinth.
That's a no. I don't feel that way. I feel like they're
really.
I feel like in Labyrinth, the people there are people, and then there are Muppets, like almost like in the Muppet movies. Like you're either, or what's the one that Happy Time Murders? Like there's people, and then there's puppets. Like, and they're two different things. And within with Empire in those movies, I'm just like, Yoda is a real creature. You know what I mean? It's a real character in that movie.
And they said they knew when they made that movie that is a sequence of the movie that if they made that look corny or cheesy, that movie's toast.
Yeah,
so they knew they had to pull that off.
I know, and think about being on the set of that and being like, okay, so I have this idea for this character, and I'm thinking Frank Oz and Muppets, and they're like, what?
Right. Fox is like, are you freaking kidding me? We greenlight this sequel and this is what's happening? Hell no.
I don't think there's any way you're going to be able to pull this off without it just looking like Kermit the Frog talking to Luke Skywalker, and people are just going to be pulled out of the movie so quickly. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah. All right. So is it my turn again?
It is your turn. Where are we now?
Third.
We're getting ready to do our third picks.
Okay. So we're halfway there.
We are. We're halfway.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So, I think this one's kind of tricky for me. So I did an original trilogy one here, and this is the Luke not killing Vader scene. There's another scene that I wanted to put on the list, but I think John's going to mention it later because I saw his list a little early. But this one to me was kind of the way to kind of show, hey, if you've never seen Star Wars or whatever, and I'm trying to get into it, you got to see more of what's going on here. And when Luke is fighting, he gets called out from under the staircase, and he starts going at Vader, and they have this music, and it's one of my favorite scenes in all Star Wars. That moving panning shot of them, with where the staircase kind of gets in the way of the shot, but they move out from behind it. And that whole thing of him coming at Vader and defeating him down, knocking him down, and then having the opportunity to kill Vader and turn around and what he says to the Emperor. I think that thing would be a way for me to explain that this character, Luke Skywalker, has gone from, I know you haven't seen this, but he went from being a nobody to finding out that this guy was his father, to getting to this point now where he had to destroy him, and realizing there's so much. This is probably one of the most pivotal moments or controversial moments where people just fundamentally disagree, not disagree, but like have so many different understandings of what's happening in this moment, of why Luke does what he does, and just watch it for yourself and just know that like this scene and what Luke chooses to do is this embodiment of like heroism, and doing the right thing or doing what he needs to do, and fighting off every ounce of temptation, I guess you could say. You know what I mean? He's being put in this moment. It's like trial or the temptation in the wilderness or something. You know what I mean? He's being hit with everything that could possibly happen to him, and he's still choosing to do the right thing. It's just a crazy moment, you know what I mean? And just seeing that fly in the face of the Emperor. Again, I think if I'm trying to get someone interested and be like, just trust me, if it doesn't feel with you now, watch the show and you will get why this it's crazy when you finally get here to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's totally all right. And I think it's just so nuts because you see him in the first two movies and he's like this whiny kid in the first movie, and then he's fighting with Yoda the second movie. And for the third movie, he gets to a point that he's accepting that fighting and running isn't the way to go. Mm-hmm. And it's like this moment of you're like, oh damn, Luke's grown up. Luke gets it. He's finally at the point that they wanted him to be in the last movie now.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, I might be able to even bounce that off of the examples I showed earlier with remember when I showed you Anakin? Well, it went crazy with him, and then his son was on that same path, and this is how it ended with that other character, and this is how it ends with this character. You know, it's not it ends, but you know how the original trilogy was ending at that moment. Yeah.
The person who was able to flip an entire republic into an empire wasn't able to flip this one person from the light side to the dark.
Yeah.
So that is power right there. And when Palpatine finally gives up and Luke just says, "You failed," that's
Your Highness.
That's one of the most powerful moments I think in the history of the saga. So
that's why
I think that's a huge. Yeah, it's a huge. It's a huge pick. I think that's a good pick. Awesome scene. Again, when you try to put yourself in the shoes of someone who's never seen it. If that's the first sequence you see with him and Vader, and then leading up to that, sign me up for watching more of that. Lacey, your next pick.
So my next pick is actually from Solo. I picked the scene where he decides to fly through the maelstrom. When he's flying.
I almost picked it too. I almost picked it.
I think to me, I have never smiled wider while watching a Star Wars now. Maybe when I was little, but
can we stop recording and I take this one, and then Lacey can take? Oh, damn it! All right.
No,
I'm kidding. That's a great pick. That's why I say it.
And I'm saying this because a week ago when I watched this, I just remember feeling my cheeks being so high from smiling. Because everything about this scene is just wonderful. From the idea that he finally gets his chance to show he's a great pilot, the way he flips the ship over and hits the TIE fighter, the way Chewie finally gets his seat, just everything about it is Star Wars. Yeah. And even to the end where they're flying in the dark and then the monster comes and they're all like, ah! It's it gave me that original trilogy feeling. And
you
for
get
people
the song too.
Right.
Which is it's not John Williams, but it was John Williams wrote this. It's being reproduced by someone else. But it's that music that I think if you don't get that in Solo, you can't say that song in Solo wasn't great because it's John Williams. That's a piece from John Williams. So
and it was the first time I even when Han flies the Millennium Falcon later in life, when we see him in the original trilogy, I didn't get the excitement and fast-paced flying that he does in Solo. And I just felt like that is the epitome of Star Wars to me. Flying spaceships through crazy space with crazy monsters and people are chasing you, but the good guys get it. And there was also, on a personal level, the moment where they're like, you can't do this. And Han's like, oh, you want to make a bet? That is me in a nutshell. When someone tells me I can't do something, I'm like, oh yeah, watch me. So for him to do that, I immediately got this
Lacey,
personal connection.
There is
and then
no way that you could get our podcast to be the biggest podcast in the world. I'm telling you right now, there's literally no way you could ever take out Joe Rogan. He's going to come to us and ask us for tips.
I can't.
In that scenario, that wouldn't happen. I mean, you can't do
Joe
that.
Rogan. But yeah, no, that scene is just epitome of Star Wars for me.
When
good guys fighting bad guys.
When Kira slides the seat back and goes, Chewie, you're in, and he gets in the seat.
There's that moment, and he starts flipping all the things. Yeah. And then Well, the moment that she doesn't know what to do, she's like, what? And then he leans over and starts moving all the, yes. Oh, God, it's perfect.
I like
and then
when
he's
they
like,
both
now
need to
drop
like
it.
turn left really hard, and they're both like pulling the wheels. Like, they're
yes.
trying to
and then they
steer.
fly up, and then he's just like, all right, man. They like oh, God, it's just friendship and flying and space.
Damn. Yeah.
Sorry, John, but it's the best
This
scene.
might be the best pick so far, in my opinion. Damn it. All right.
Which is funny because before that, I was thinking Vader was, and then I got to my list, and I was like, no, this is.
All right. So, where are we now? Am I on my third one? Yeah, okay. So, I am going to say the Starkiller Base lightsaber duel in The Force Awakens.
So good.
So I have 2 Force Awakens actually in my list here, but I was gonna pick the detention block on A New Hope because of Han and all that stuff, and it's the first time the big 3 get together. But I gotta go with this one. Just everything about it. The snow setting. It has that fantasy story in the forest type of situation. You had the bright reds, the bright blues. Finn doing what he can to try to help Rey. And then Kylo and Rey, and all of a sudden the lightsaber gets launched, and we all think it's coming to Luke, and it whizzes by his face and lands in Rey's hand with the Force theme, and we're all
oh my God,
like,
you're so right. I did think it was Luke. You're so right. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I think everybody thought that was like, oh, here it is. Here's the big entrance. Yeah. We haven't seen him the whole movie. This is going to be epic. And then it's Rey, and we're all like, I don't know how I feel about this.
We all thought that was going to be him.
Yeah.
Even Mark Hamill thought that was going to be him.
Yeah, he kept waiting as he turned the pages. But when it does land in her hand, I remember oddly being completely happy about that decision.
Oh, pumped.
And then she turns it on, and she's terrified. Like, she has no idea what she's about to get into, but she knows she has to. And then she starts fighting Kylo Ren, and it's not until she remembers connecting with the Force, which I think they said Ava DuVernay recommended that slow motion scene to JJ. It clicks in her head, and then she starts kicking his ass.
No, like Ava also suggested the part where she kicks him in the chest.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole element of her busting up his face, getting him his Skywalker scar, and the Earth of the Starkiller splitting. And I remember a while ago I was theorizing whether or not that was done by the Force or what, but just a huge scene. I think it quintessential Star Wars from a direction standpoint, scenery standpoint, storytelling, the dialogue, and again, it's minimalist lightsaber usage in that movie. You're waiting for that moment, and again, no offense to the prequels, but they almost killed lightsabers for me. It was just too much. Just excellently executed by the writing team and direction by J.J. Abrams. So I think if someone watched that scene, they'd be like, I kind of dig this, so let's watch some more Star Wars. So that is my third pick. So let's do with our last picks, guys. James Bainey, take us home on your end of the Scoundrels Rundown, on the Kessel Run.
Yeah, so they've been, the person that I'm showing this to has been on the journey of me showing them the prequels and then the original trilogy. And I wanted to get something in the sequels in there too. Like it's continued, and this is resetting the story in some manner. And I think one of the biggest things to get them interested in the sequel trilogy to me would be showing them the scene of Hux screaming his speech to his Legion of First Order troopers and firing Starkiller Base into Hosnian Prime, and just being able to explain to the person like that, this is a republic that doesn't believe in weapons. So when this happens, this is basically a new order of, like I want to say Nazis, that's kind of how they were originally designed to be kind of
much
modeled after. Yeah. But to come in here and show them how angry and how what they believe is just so fully what they're going to do. They're not going to back down, and they are willing to do a genocide of this degree, of this magnitude. It is just, I think that's probably one of the biggest demonstrations of power that we've ever seen in Star Wars. To come in and show somebody like, these are the types of weapons that the enemy has, and to set them on a journey of like, how do you think someone who has no military force would even begin to fight against a power like this? Which I think also is very reminiscent of the Death Star in general, which is like probably one of the most simple explanations of Star Wars when it comes down to it, is we are small people. We don't have the ability to take on the bigger enemy, especially when they have all the resources in the world. So if that's the story of Star Wars, I think watching Hux's destruction of Hosnian Prime is a good way to say, how do you think you would take it on? If you want to know how they do, you should watch the series.
Domhnall Gleeson is so good in that scene. It's like unreal. I forget what it was. I think JJ did an interview or something along the lines that was like, he did that. I don't think he did it in so many takes. He did it in very few takes. And I remember JJ was saying that he was just like, as soon as I saw this, I was like, damn, he got it. Which is funny because two things really quick. I was watching About Time the other day with Domhnall Gleeson, where he's like a time traveler. It's kind of a romantic comedy. And he was on screen, and Matt walked in, my husband, and he was just like, what are you watching? I was like, About Time. I was like, you know that guy? And Matt was like, he's a redhead? What? I was like, it's Hux. He's like, who's Hux? I was like, the angry guy in Force Awakens? Like, what? And he was just like, all right, whatever, and like walked out. Two, Kate on Twitter, when they sent out that presidential text, is the one that put up the thing that was like, we do not acquiesce to,
disorder,
like the presidential alert was like his speech, but it was like, the New Republic, ... And you were like, oh no, if I ever got this and I was on Hosnian Prime, like.
Yeah, it's funny, like you say that, because Domhnall Gleeson seems like the most pleasant person, so he's obviously a good
friendly,
actor.
Yeah.
And then Hux, just from another good pick, James. Hux, just from a standpoint, when you think about it, because it happens so quickly in the movie, without flinching, without thinking, he orders the firing, which destroys 5 planets and like hundreds of billions of people, and just like he's slamming a door, like angrily,
Yeah, and not that it matters. It really shouldn't matter, but like important people too. And I hate to say it that way, but he wasn't.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't like
Tatooine.
killing a man in an alleyway. It was like it was like killing the president, or something. I mean, there was real like just mass amounts of bravery in the sense of like he doesn't even feel like this is going to affect him. These people mean nothing, and it's like, but these are like the leaders of the galaxy. Like they're all in one place. And really it's just so crazy to think you would have the guts to do something like that. Reminds
me, and I think James, you're with me on this. That one of the things that bothers me about The Last Jedi is how they really took that fright that you get from Hux away and kind of made him a little campier.
Yeah, he is really scary. He's like, in The Force Awakens, you're like, oh my God, like this guy is not backing down. He does not care.
Right.
And then also this week, I saw on Twitter that someone had mentioned that the main character from The Resistance is like the new TV show is from Hosnian Prime.
Kaz,
yes.
Kaz is from Hosnian Prime?
He grew up on Hosnian Prime.
Wow.
I think
if that's true, that they're probably going to incorporate that when that show ends at some point.
I know.
Get ready for pain.
Yeah, and that will make a lot of sense because I think it was confirmed recently that Resistance was going to carry through Force Awakens. So like in season 2 or season 3, or maybe even the end of the first season, when this character watches his home planet being blown up, that's kind of crazy.
What if he's on the planet when it blows up, and that adds a lot more weight into Poe caring about what happened? And
oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. I figured that they would, because we saw him talk to his father, and he ended his conversation with his father as like, never mind, I don't need your help, like, and hang up.
Yeah,
if that's the last time he talked to his dad before Hosnian Prime blows up, that's like a kind of like a Leia to Bail Organa type moment. That's some heavy stuff for a children's show.
Or if they,
I saw it on Twitter and I was like, oh my God.
If somehow Kaz dies, like when they make the special edition of The Force Awakens, they'll edit in when they blow up Starkiller, Poe will be like, this one's for Kaz.
And it'll look like the Jabba scene where it's like, no, they'll have him in it Like they'll put him like standing next to Coruscant, like.
Oh, the girl on the balcony.
Prime?
Yeah.
Balcony.
They'll like put him in there, and it's like, why is he a cartoon?
It'll be the animated version. Yeah. Like
it's
Roger
not even
Rabbit.
that. It's a badly photoshopped like picture of the action figure. It's not even the.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. It's the action figure. All right. Where were we now? That was
It's the last one. It's me.
Okay. So yeah, you and then me, and then we're done, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So my last one is going from New Hope, Little Lacey. This was other Little Lacey's favorite scene that kind of, I think, sums up Star Wars in a way that it's just like so perfect, and I love it every time I watch it. It's from Return of the Jedi, and it is the Jabba barge scene where they're about to kill Han Solo and Luke and Chewie. And they go out there and you're like, man, they are down on their luck right now. And the whole time Luke is super smug. He's wearing black now, like he's all edgy. and Leia's just like up on the barge about to watch all her friends and family die. And then R2's just there like, hey man, what's up? And then they like everything from the moments of like the signals, Luke nodding, and then the fight that proceeds after the fact and they win. Like talk about an awesome beginning to that movie that like,
yeah.
You just wonder where it's going to go from there. And I remember watching that scene being like, how can anything be better than this? Like, this is a great scene. And just the humor, too, where Han's like, Boba Fett, what, where? And he, like, hits him and he falls over. And then, like, just everything about that scene's so great. And then Lando being like, a little higher.
Yeah. I can
the
see
killing of Boba
now.
Fett was so Rian Johnson before Rian Johnson. Like just squashing all the expectations of what that character was
like
gonna, what role he was gonna have
do.
in the next movie.
Yeah.
But talk about that moment where he's like, Luke's just like, you know, I'm giving you one last chance. You can either, you know, surrender or I'm going to murder you. And Jabba's like, oh, haha, yeah, sure, whatever. And then R2's like, okay, fire away. And he grabs it and he just immediately like, oh, it's so great. It's perfect. And they fly away and it's wonderful.
The ghost kick.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get it though. It's like kitschy and whatever, but that whole scene as a whole though, like where Leia gets to finally choke out Jabba, kills him, then gets on the gun and shoots the gun at the deck, and
it has all of our heroes together at the same time, which is great.
Yes, and they win.
Yeah, they win. It's a fun scene. A little sad about Salacious Crumb. I feel like he didn't deserve his death.
Get
He's
out.
kind of
Okay.
He's a helpless little guy. He's a comedian.
But
He's
how
not
about
there.
when R2 comes up and he goes, C-3PO's like, what are you doing, R2? And he goes, well, obviously you're serving drinks. Like, so stupid.
Yeah.
So funny.
They're the folly of Star Wars, which I hope we get more of them in 9.
But I love that R2 doesn't tell him the plan.
Yeah.
Like
right.
R2 goes into that whole movie being like, I got it, don't worry.
He knows he would freak out. He's like, I got to just play it cool here because my friend here's a neurotic fool.
I'm serving drinks. Well, obviously you're serving drinks. But yeah, that's my scene. It's just so Star Warsy, and I know that if anybody watched that scene, they'd be like, okay, what's next?
Yeah, that's a good pick. All right, so my last pick and the last pick of the Kessel Run here is when Luke gets shot up into the room where Vader is in Bespin, on Bespin in Cloud City, and Vader is up and all you hear is the breathing, and then Luke looks up and sees his shadow, and he says, the Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you're not a Jedi yet. That sequence there, even before they fight, I think is huge. The orange images, the smoke, again, the direction is fantastic there. That line is probably my favorite Star Wars line ever. It's Vader kind of putting him in his place already before they even draw their weapons. Just saying, like, I know the Force is with you, but you're not a Jedi. Like, I'm going to destroy you. And if you notice in that scene, like, The Empire Strikes Back is pretty much wall-to-wall music. John Williams' music's all over that movie. When he enters that room, the music cuts out. And it makes you realize it's just those two in that room. And great choice, whoever chose that.
Yeah, the weight of the scene is,
you
feel it, yeah.
Yeah, it's just Luke and Vader, and it's quintessential Star Wars, even leading up to the reveal, I am your father. Just everything about that, from visually, sound wise and dialogue. It's maybe my favorite scene ever in Star Wars, and I think would again one of those things where people would want to be drawn to finding out more about it. So that is my last pick.
You know what's interesting about that pick, John, is that having read the comic books where you go on these adventures with Vader and some of even the novels and stuff that like most people don't know about, but I think he's done all this crazy stuff and he's such a haunting presence. Like I think you get that from the movies, but like when you know some of the stuff that he's been on and what he's done in the past, to picture yourself in that scene where he's standing on top of there, like in the fog, you know what I mean? And you're just thinking like, this guy has killed so many people and he's not afraid of anything. Yeah. Like there's literally nothing that, Luke doesn't stand a chance in this moment. And for him to say, like that, good job, but like, you can't touch me, is such a freaky thought. I don't know. It just, it adds so much to that. Something that you couldn't get if you just watched A New Hope. And I understand that he's like, it had that impact, just from the movies, but to also know, that he's went on these rampages and he's killed, like there's a comic scene where he's standing in the middle and there's like hundreds of men around him and they're like, you're surrounded. And he's like, the only thing I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men. It's like this person is like standing and now he only has to take on Luke Skywalker. Like that's one person that he has to fight.
Luke ignites his saber first too. Vader waits for him to make his first move. And then Vader just slowly, if you remember, Vader just slowly ignites his, almost like he had a control whether he can do it fast or slow. It's just like,
I like to think that he didn't even like push the button. Like he just told his lightsaber to like, come on, know?
Yeah. He's like, all right, I guess I'll use it. I'll toy around with the kid.
All right, so we're doing this. We're doing the lightsaber thing. All right.
All right. You asked for it. Yeah. All right. So that's our Kessel Run, guys. That's our pick. Collectively, our 12 moments, things we would show someone who had never heard of or seen Star Wars to kind of give them an idea of this is Star Wars. We hope you enjoyed our list. We also threw it to you guys and asked you what your picks would be. But unfortunately, you guys only got to pick one. So we got to cheat and each pick 4 and put our 12 together. But we picked some of our favorites of yours. So now we're going to smoothly segue this into Resistance Transmissions. Lacey, what did they say about this?
So this is going to be a Kessel Run type of Resistance Transmissions because I'm going to try to wrap this up pretty quick. So first we have Marie E. Wilson at Aaliyah Morgaine, and she said the Battle of Scarif for sure. James, that's one for you.
Great pick.
I didn't look either. These were in the show notes, and I hadn't had a chance to check them out yet. But yeah, I can't agree more with that. That's a good one.
Yep. Next is Fantatrax. Hey guys, what's up? Love the Fantatrax.
What's up, Fantatrax?
And they said the Death Star trench run from A New Hope.
It's
classic.
It's solid choice.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like how could you not put that in your list? But but there's so many good scenes of Star Wars. Yeah, it's like that's another one that absolutely should be there.
Okay, next is Kaz Skellington at Bifocals McTats. Two completely different names.
I never get tired of that.
Is
so funny.
That is not his name. It's Kaz Skellington, Bat, and like a pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern or something. I'm not going to be able to add that on YouTube though.
And it's a she, not a he.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. She said, when Rey and Finn go from strangers to fighting the First Order on the Falcon, I sat in the theater and saw Rey do that sweet freeze and midair move while Finn blasted the tie, and those happy chills went all over, and my brain said, "This is Star Wars." Yeah, the point where she's like, "Get ready."
Yeah. That is a really good scene.
Yeah, like, are we really doing this? And she like dives into the Superstar Destroyer. Like, it's so crazy. Yeah.
So good. Okay, next is Fun Time at _Fun Time, and they said sent a GIF of Ahsoka versus Vader and Rebel. Oh, they sent one. So they sent a GIF of Ahsoka versus
That's what you
Vader
get for
in
not
Rebels.
reading early.
Oh, well, if that isn't proof I read these in real time, then I don't know what is.
So Ahsoka
yes,
versus
that's
Vader
an
in
awesome
Rebels?
moment.
I really tried to figure out a way to incorporate some of the Clone Wars and Rebel stuff. Like I wanted those to be like big pivotal moments, but I think if I just wanted to get someone interested in it, you got to show them the movies. But I agree with this. I think that Ahsoka versus Vader fight in Rebels is just so like, you don't even understand how important this fight and what has led up to this. And you can give them a little bit of backstory, but like, it's just such a good clashing of two. I mean, it's almost like Obi-Wan and Vader, you know?
Yep. Okay, next is Toy Matt at ToyMatt3369. And Matt says, A New Hope, the scene where Luke and Leia are on the bridge battling stormtroopers. Then they swing across the gap. The only problem with that is that she kisses him. That bothers me now.
On the cheek. On the cheek.
But still, it kind of bothers me. But yeah, no, that is definitely like... It kind of gives me like Indiana Jones vibes, like kind of like adventure. Yeah, great one. Next is mild-mannered janitor at CB Wrenchley. And they said this, because either they will want to see what happens next or they are dead inside. What? Okay, parenthesis, he sent a GIF of the opening shot of A New Hope with the Tantive 4 being chased by the massive Star Destroyer. Okay, so where it starts off.
Yep.
Yeah.
The opening scene.
That is a good opening scene.
Yeah.
Solid.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun. And there's that weight, the like the zhoo.
Yeah.
Anyway. Next is Carlos Gomez at Carlos_Salvador. And he said the opening crawl of A New Hope with music.
So, yeah, Carlos nailed it here because I was really close to saying the opening crawl of A New Hope because I just thought if you want to get someone interested in Star Wars, why not give them the thing that caused everybody to get into Star Wars, which was, here it is. Here's the pitch. Here's where we're at, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this is totally the story. You can read it for yourself. It's like 40 seconds to get through this thing.
It is a period of civil war. You're like, oh, okay.
All right, okay. Rebel spies, the Death Star. Okay,
Death
all
Star.
right,
Why
sure.
is that in all caps? That's interesting.
I'm interested.
Oh, dot. I better stay tuned.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, several of you said Luke with the twin sons. Hey, what up? Anakin vs. Kenobi, the Cantina Band, and a bunch of others said a bunch of other cool things. So make sure you check it out on Twitter. We had over 50 replies, so we're sorry we couldn't include everyone, but they were all really, really great. So definitely check that out on our Twitter page, which is at RBATSWNN. If you want to be a part of the Resistance Transmissions, make sure to follow us on Twitter. And then either Wednesday or Thursday, John will put up some crazy scenario, and you can give your reply. And I don't read them till the night that we're recording. So if you're funny or crazy, or if you're John and you put in some type of direction that has nothing to do with what they actually tweeted, and it's just reference to that it's a GIF, I'll read it on the show. But thank you guys so much for sending in your transmissions. And now I want to go watch a full marathon of all Star Wars movies. Back to you, John.
Yeah, I did one also. Sometimes I do two, and whichever one's better we go with. But I did the one, what does Leia think Tarkin would smell like?
Oh,
and pretty much,
right.
pretty much everyone said like egg farts. So I was like, we can't do that on the show, you know. So yeah,
I still think we should do. What was Han Solo thinking when he touched Kylo Ren's face?
Maybe we'll do that.
Maybe we
and
should.
Then you can read all the painful answers. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you have other ones, send them in to us about the moment you would show somebody about Star Wars who's never seen it. But, of course, in the meantime, make sure you are subscribed to our podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, and, of course, iTunes. tpublic.com/user/resistance broadcast, where you can find all of our designs. If you want to support the show, that's the best way to currently do it right now. We may have some more news about how you can do that also in the future, so stay tuned for that. But also head to our website, StarWarsNewsNet.com, for all of your latest news interviews, editorials, information, links to Lacey's Star Wars news show that we think she's still doing. Who knows?
Eventually.
But in the meantime, you can find the three of us on Twitter and stuff like that. Me personally, John Hoey, you can find me at Johnny Hoey, and I'm writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. James, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Depressed Darth. That's my personal account. I have over 800,000 followers.
Wait a minute.
That's totally me. I started a viral sensation.
Wow. Good job, buddy. All right. Lacey, how about you?
That's definitely not you, and I don't want people to think it's you because then they're going to be like, he's lying.
I was going to wait till you were done, and then I was going to interrupt later and say, that wasn't me. I lied.
All right. Well, you did it just now. Okay. So everyone can find me on Twitter at Lacey Gillerin. I like to talk about Star Wars and have a good time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think. I had something else to say, but I forget now because James like totally threw me off.
Guys, I just wanted to say that wasn't me, that I'm not Depressed Darth.
So guys, okay. I didn't get to say this last month in September, but I've been on the podcast for 6 months. Woo! And I can't believe it's been that long already, but I just wanted to thank everybody for listening and thank you for talking with me online because there are some days that suck. Like everybody has sucky days, but you guys all make my life better. So thank you.
Well, I have two things to say, even though this is one of our longest episodes in a while. One, Lacey, congrats on 6 months. I can't believe you survived me and James for 6 months. We are so happy you're a part of this, and to the next 6 months, which will take us to Celebration together. So,
oh my God, I will. Right?
That's crazy.
December. January.
And then the other thing I wanted to say
is exactly 6.
If you guys do want to make Lacey feel better, you can hit her up on Twitter at Lady Gaga. And she will respond to you.
No, I will not.
Anytime.
That is not
me. Her.
I am at Lacey Gillerin. That is not me.
She has 7 billion followers. And
and her first movie just did like 40 billion at the box office. 40 billion, not 40 million is what I meant to say.
This bit is getting real weird.
Real weird. All right, well, we better get out of here. But we hope you guys enjoy your weekend. And we will see you guys on Monday with another episode of your favorite Spotify featured podcast, The Resistance Broadcast. We'll see you around, kids.